Great.
Yeah, like this.
So I'm just doing some of the setup right now. So call recording's on. How do I, be quiet, Catherine? God, no. How do I, you said there's a way to accept so nobody, I don't have to approve people to come on?
So you go, I think it's
That one?
that one,
Yep. Others in the class to join.
There you go.
Nice. Okay, good. Good, that's way better. Yeah, so thanks for providing that PowerPoint, Christine. I'll go ahead and share that. So that's good to go.
I just took it off for the web page and some stuff, and I'm sure she's going to talk more about what she's doing, but that was just the general kind of stuff for everybody.
Right. Sounds good.
How are you? How's the baby?
Baby's really good. He's pretty funny. So have a good time with him. Really good time. He went in the pool this weekend on 4th of July just to see what he thought of it. He got his little feet wet and was like, nope, it's a little chilly. I don't love it. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah, they and everybody will tell you they grow so fast, but it's so true. It is so true.
Yeah, I definitely. I'm just amazed that he's 11 weeks old today. Feels like just yesterday. We were in the hospital, and I'm really glad that time has passed.
Amen. I'm all
Yeah, the first couple of weeks you're kind of like, what are we doing?
Yeah. My daughter will be 21 this month, and I remember having her like it was yesterday.
No kidding. And I still can't believe you have a 21-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean you remember everything. You remember, we were just talking this weekend. I'm like, I don't even know where this time went or how that happened.
Yeah. It's crazy. I can't imagine. I'm sure I'm going to blink and it's going to feel like that too.
Yeah, I'll be going to school and the girls will be calling and it'll be driving.
That's true. I think the ladies will be calling because my son's pretty cute. He's pretty cute. So I think he already has a lot of babies that are girls that were born around the same time he was. I have a lot of friends with girls. So he's gonna have some practice.
Nice.
It's gonna be funny.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. My husband's so funny though. He cracks me up with him. He's so in love with him. And he, acted like he was going to be this really tough guy and be like, our son's not going to get away with anything, but he's a total sucker. So.
Oh, for sure. Wait, you think it's bad now? Wait till you have a daughter. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we'd definitely like to have another one, and it'd be cool if it was a girl, because then we'd have one of each. So.
Yeah, I did that. I had one of each, and then I was like, oh, well, how did that happen? And then ended up with another son. I was like, oops.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
So, Kate, have you joined us as well? It looks like you're on the call, too. Or at least she's on the computer on Join Me. Maybe she'll call in a minute.
Has anyone heard from Mary Ellen? Is she calling in? I don't know.
I've not heard from her recently, no.
I'm actually in Ohio.
Ohio. Wow, what are you doing in Ohio?
Well, I'm here for a family.
Say that again?
I'm here for a family reunion.
Family reunion. So there's a little bit of an echo on your line right
I was
now.
just hearing that. Is that better? Should I hang up? Hang up. Are you still there?
We're here.
Oh.
That's better. There's a little bit of reverb there. Are you there?
I am.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of echo.
I'm going to call in on another phone. Let's try that.
Okay.
Good morning. This is Kate from Petaluma.
Hi, Kate. How are you?
Hi, fine. Is this Lindsay?
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Trying to get my head wrapped around the morning and what we have to do. Still getting back
Okay.
into the swing. Yeah, but it's going well.
Well, good. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to this conversation. I met with Miss Blum back east in November when she was back there for Veterans Day.
Oh, fantastic. Very good.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a nice woman. Yeah.
She is. We had a really nice conversation last week to prepare for the call, and I'm also amazed that she's in her 70s.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah, no, you wouldn't.
Yeah, and doesn't sound like that's just awesome. What a woman.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have everybody start joining us shortly.
Good. Okay.
Hi, Christine.
Hi, who's this?
It's Christine. Is it better?
No, it's worse. Are
How
you
about
near
now?
any electronic devices or something? No.
A bunch? Yes.
There we go. That's better. That's much
Okay.
better.
We're going to go with this phone.
Okay. Hi, everyone. We're going to get started in a few more minutes. So if you can mute your phones in the meantime, it would be greatly appreciated. We're getting some background noise. Thank you.
Lindsay, I wondered, is this whole interview going to be recorded so other people could go on the website and listen to it later?
Yes, it will be. So we're
Okay.
recording right now, and then I'll have my staff ensure that it's posted on the website.
Okay, because I have a lot of women Vietnam vet era that would like to listen to it, maybe that are not able. I sent it out on a master thing, so they
Okay.
would like to listen to it later. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful to hear. Very good.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to mute now.
Okay, thank you.
Hello? Hello?
Hi, this
Javon.
is Lindsay. Who's this?
Javon Henry from U.S. Veterans Magazine.
Hey, Javon. How are you?
Hi, Lindsay. Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Paula Kaplan. Welcome, Lindsay. You're
Hi,
back.
Paula.
How's
Yes,
the
I'm
baby?
back. The baby's great. He's 11 weeks old today.
Oh, congratulations. You have to send pictures.
Yes, I should. I should just post
Okay.
some pictures on our website.
Great, great.
How do I put my phone on mute?
I believe it's *6 or #6.
Okay.
Other people that know how to do that can chime in, because I think that's how you do it.
I have a lot going on in the office today. I just want to make sure you guys can't hear all this yelling in the background.
Thank you. Yelling. That's not good. It's deadlines. Okay, folks, so we're going to get started. I'm going to probably give it a couple more minutes, have Christine begin our call. In a few more minutes, we just want to get a few more callers in. So in the meantime, just sit tight and mute your phones if you can so we don't get too much background noise. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Who's
Good
this?
morning. This is Sarah.
Wonderful. So Christine, welcome Sarah. So Christine, are you ready to go ahead and start our the introductions to our call?
I am most definitely ready to do that.
Great.
Alrighty, so let's begin. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday after a holiday weekend. I hope everybody had a great time. I'm just gonna go over a little bit of the guidelines for the call. Of course, it's an information and resource call, and we have a fabulous guest speaker today. Just try to keep your questions focused on the topic, if you have any, and we will have that after she's finished. If you want to type them via the Join Me, if you're also logged on there, you can do that as well, and then we'll have them ready. And let's see. We're going to have our guest speaker. Actually, we're going to have Lindsay do a little bit of an update, and then we're going to have our guest speaker, and then we should be all tidied up and finished by 11. If you have any other specific questions, or questions not related to the call, you can type those as well, and Lindsay and her staff do an amazing job of answering them. And then the call is being recorded, and it will be available off the Calvet Women's page within a day or so. I hope. Lindsay will tell us when it's available. So with that, I will turn it over to Lindsay.
Thanks so much, Christine. So this series is a part of our monthly statewide women veterans phone calls that we do in collaboration with Christine Hess and Mary Ellen Salzano. And the intention is that we come up with a new topic every month and invite a guest speaker who's able to update us on what they do in the community for women veterans or for veterans at large. And so far we've had 20 to 30 participants per call. And it looks like we've got about close to 20 of us on this call as well. And so we're very happy to continue these phone calls, as it's a good way for us to continue our increased knowledge of the world of women veterans. And then it also allows me here at California Department of Veterans Affairs to provide an update to all of you about what we're doing these days. So with that, I'll give you a little bit of an update about the division. I'm Lindsay Sin, Deputy Secretary for Women Veterans here at California Department of Veterans Affairs. And some of our updates that for this call are that we do have our Summit on Women Veterans for the year coming up August 24th and 25th. That is here in Sacramento this year at the Sheraton Grand Hotel. And you can find out more information, including our draft agenda, which will be posted this week, on our website, which is calvet.ca.gov, and then you can find our Women Veterans page on our homepage, or go /Women Veterans. The summit is $45 registration fee this year. It's a 2-day conference. We've got a lot of great activities, including some employment panels where if you're looking for a job, you can come in and actually speak directly with some employers and ask them questions about their industry. That'll be happening on Monday afternoon of the conference, which is August 25th. We also have our raffle, which will be held on the afternoon of the 24th. We'll have fantastic presentations about financial literacy, how to start your own business, also presentations on educational benefits from VA. So there's going to be some really great stuff included in this year's conference. And then we'll, of course, have our annual award winners for the Calvet Woman Veteran Leader of the Year, Lifetime Achievement, and Volunteer of the Year. And that will be happening in an evening reception on the evening of the 24th. So look to our website for information about how to register, and then for our draft agenda and announcing our award winners. That'll all be happening this week. Additionally, we will be coming out with our outreach toolkit. This is something we've been working on for the last year. This is a toolkit designed for veterans organizations, women's organizations, universities, and interested advocates to be able to peruse so that they can learn facts about women veterans. They can also look at best practices and suggestions about how to better outreach and connect with women veterans, as we happen to be a population that does not necessarily access our benefits or organizations at the same rates and in the same channels that men do. So it's really important that we find new ways to outreach to each other as advocates and veteran service providers, but also as women who want to continue to uphold our sisters. So this toolkit will be available via print form at the end of August. We'll be hopefully having it available at our conference. And then it is currently available online in PDF form also from our website. So there's a button that you can go to when you visit our homepage to actually access the outreach toolkit. And it's gotten some pretty good reviews so far, and we'd like to make sure that this is a resource available to everyone. But we're really excited to have this nice printed version coming out at the end of August. If you want to request one, you're welcome to do so. You just contact our office, and we'll be happy to get some copies to you. And we've also finished our 2013 survey. We wrapped that up at the beginning of this year, and now we are going into the final phase to produce the full report of the survey. So that should be also available in August. The full report should be released then. And the printed copies, there will be probably limited printed copies available, but then we'll also publish the full report on our website and our findings on the website as well. Currently, though, if you visit our website, you can go to buttons regarding this survey, and you can access some of our short subject papers. So far, we've released short subject papers on MST and on housing. We're about to post a short subject paper on benefits, utilization, and access for women veterans from those findings. And then another short subject paper will be coming out probably in the next several weeks that relates to child care, employment, and health care. And these are all the papers based on the findings from the 2013 survey. So look to our website for more information on that. And if you haven't been to our website yet, calvet.ca.gov, we have a new portal where you can actually sign up with My Calvet. You can put in different parameters about your military service and what interests you, and that profile will push information to you. So you'll be able to search for more information about what's going on throughout California and nationwide regarding veterans. You'll be able to get better notifications about benefits and services available to you. It's really a new designed website that's really customer friendly and focused on what you as the individual want to get from that based on the profile that you set up. So I really encourage all of you to do that. So that's pretty much it for our updates from Calvet. Of course, if you have questions at the end of this call related to some of those updates, you're welcome to ask, or you can email us or type in something into the Join software, the chat function if you do that. So now I'd like to ask if Patricia Jackson Kelly happens to be on the call.
Yes, she is.
Wonderful, Patricia. Good morning.
Good morning.
It would be great if you would be able to introduce our guest presenter and speaker, Sarah Blum, today, since you were able to connect us with her, which we greatly appreciate. Do you want to take a couple minutes to do that, and then we'll have Sarah start? Okay.
Yes, it is my honor to introduce Sarah L. Blum. I met Sarah about, I guess it must have been about 6 or 7 years ago, and at the time she was attempting to publish a book on abuse of women in the military, and she had some challenges, and I must say that I'm really proud of her tenacity that she was able to get around them, and she published the book Women Under Fire, Abuse in the Military, and it was released November of last year. Sarah is a decorated nurse, Vietnam era, and she earned the Army Commendation Medal. She's a practicing nurse psychotherapist, and she's had over 28 years of experience. She was one of the first women elected to the National Board of Directors of Vietnam Veterans of America, and that was in 1983. She's been very active. She's been a guest speaker at several events. She also lobbied with Congress regarding Agent Orange and the birth defects of children and women of Vietnam veterans. She's listed in Who's Who in America and Who's Who in American Women, Nursing and Medicine and Healthcare. She's also a member of the National Association of Professional Women, which has over 160,000 members. and she is also a member of We Are One, a women veteran in Washington State, and 1.8 million in America. I'm proud to say that she's been very instrumental in telling my story, part of my story in the military, and that's found on her website. And so I'd like to introduce Sarah Blum.
Well, hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good morning, Sarah.
Okay, great. So Lindsay had wanted me to share a little bit about how I came to write this book, and that's a story in itself. I'll try to make that part brief. I signed up to go to the very first Peace Trees Vietnam program when they opened up Vietnam for us to go there, and that was in 1996. And we were having gatherings locally, excuse me, in the Seattle area. And one of the people who put that whole program together was Dana Perry. And since you're from California, you probably don't know his name, but he was a physicist, and he became a psychologist and then a peace activist. And at the end of the last gathering, before we were actually going to go to Vietnam, he looked me in the eye and he told me that somebody needed to write the woman's story. And I heard him. I took that in, but I really didn't get it at the time. I was so totally focused on this horrendous experience that I'd been through in Vietnam as an operating room nurse, and now going back to Vietnam to plant peace trees, and I was very focused on that and being able to survive going back to Vietnam. So now I'm going to fast forward to 2006, 10 years later, and I was having a conversation with a woman who I really did not know very well at all. She was a college professor, but she was a very intuitive woman. And we were having this conversation. She stopped in the middle of the conversation and she said to me, you know, you have a soul mission, a second soul mission, which is to bring justice into our world, and you've never done anything about it. And I actually knew what she was talking about, but I really didn't know what to do about it. So I acknowledged that I knew that. And she said, well, what you really need to do is you need to write about women in the military. And I said, okay. And so it didn't go very far. She just talked about that. And then we went back to the original conversation we were having. And I came back home, and I realized that there was truth in the fact that I had this mission and I'd never done anything about it. And then I remembered Dana Perry's words to me. And I thought, well, maybe I better get on this. And so I did my thing, which is a spiritual thing. And I basically said to God, okay, if this is real, if this is really what I'm supposed to do, then I need a few things. I need a title that I can get behind that inspires me. And I need to know that I can actually write. And so I brainstormed titles, and I had a whole page full of titles, and the one that lit up, energetically lit up, like a neon sign, was Women Under Fire. So I put a circle around that and realized, okay, that's the title, and I can get behind that, and that inspires me. And then I sat down at the computer to see if I could write. And I basically said, okay, show me that I can write. Let's write some kind of an introduction. And so I started to write, and my fingers were literally flying across the keyboard, and I was writing. And at the end of it, I read what I'd written, and it literally blew me away. I was just shocked and amazed. And then I said to God, basically, okay, let's do this thing. And I had no idea what this thing was, but I said, let's do this thing. And then I started to send out messages wherever I could, put them up on websites and send them out to email groups and talk to people and let them know that I was looking for women veterans from World War II all the way up to current day, and that current day, of course, was in 2006. Oh my, what's that noise? Anyway, so I started sending out messages and looking for women, veterans from World War II all the way up to current day, to get their stories. And I developed a list of questions that were the same, so that every woman I talked to, I would ask her the same questions. And I began that process in the fall of 2006. And then in 2009, 2008 and 2009, I went to the Pacific Northwest Writers Association conference to really learn about writing from the perspective of the industry and how everything works, and learn what I could about how to write and how to write well, and also any other things that I needed to learn about to help me with this process. And so in 2008, I had a huge experience with the Writers Conference, learned a lot, met a lot of great people, and got a lot of positive feedback for what I was doing. And then in 2009, I decided to turn over what I had so far written to an editor who calls himself a book doctor and get some feedback. And that was basically the turning point, because he read through everything. He gave me a tremendous amount of feedback, very detailed feedback. And then the big thing that he said was, this isn't going anywhere, but if you really want to have an impact, focus on these stories, because some of the stories I had received were about sexual assault. And he said, focus on these stories and write about the culture of abuse in the military.
Sarah,
Well,
just to, sorry to interrupt. This is Lindsay. Everyone, remember to mute your phones, please, so that we can hear Sarah better. Okay.
Okay. So he told me to focus on the culture of abuse in the military, and I actually didn't know there was one at that point, but I decided that I needed to follow. Yeah, I think there's somebody that's not muted because there's a lot of static and noise on the phone. Anyway, I decided to follow his advice, but it was an emotional thing for me, because over the years that I've been doing these interviews, I connected with all the women that I interviewed. I mean, I really connected with them because I wanted to know them. I wanted to know their stories, and I got their stories, and I got them. I actually recorded them while I was writing and taking notes. So I was doing both because I knew that I probably couldn't write as fast as women could talk, and I didn't want to miss anything or get anything inaccurately. And so I would go back and then review the tape and then fill in the things that I missed or something that I didn't hear correctly. And so it was a big emotional process for me to go through when I was making this change. And it took me about 3 months to get through it. I had a lot of grief, a lot of tears, because I felt like, I don't know if you can relate to this, but I felt like the last thing in the world I wanted to do was betray a woman veteran. So there were so many women veterans that already felt so betrayed already that I didn't want to participate in adding to that. And so here I was being told to do something different than what I had originally told them I was doing. And so that was really my personal dilemma to deal with. And so it took me about 3 months to work through all my feelings about it and to get clear and focused that I could do it. And then it was really like, it was kind of like the King Solomon story of splitting the baby, because I had to take everything that I'd written, and 6 chapters of what I'd written were my own personal story. And so I had to take my story out and a lot of other stories that were not about sexual assault. I had to take them all out. And what happened was, at the end of those months of grieving and struggling and railing and yelling and screaming, I got quiet and I got clear, and then I was able to hear the inspiration that was coming to me about it. And so I was basically sitting at my computer, and I'd gotten really quiet and was open and listening and basically asking for help, what to do. I didn't know what to do. And the message when it came through was really fast. It was instantaneous and so absolutely clear. And basically the message was, well, you have 2 books and a website. And I said, what? 2 books and a website. So I went from that one book, that generic book about women in the military, to 2 books, the first of which is the one I already wrote called Women Under Fire, Abuse in the Military, that I'll talk about today. And then the second one is Women Under Fire, PTSD and Healing, that I really want to get back to and finish writing. And that's the one that contains my story, the other stories about PTSD, and I'll still need to get some more stories for that one. And then the focus on the actual, what PTSD is and what the symptoms are and how it works and all the ideas about it and the ways, different methods for healing it. And then the website, which is called womenunderfire.net. So I hope you'll go there, womenunderfire.net. And Patricia's story is on the website. Because, see, the other thing was I didn't want to lose any of the stories I had. And so because I was narrowing the focus to sexual assault and then PTSD and healing, if a story didn't fit into those parameters, where was it going to go? And when I got the message about the website, then I felt relieved and like I could go on then, because then all the stories would be there, that any woman that wanted her story out would have it out. And the women that agreed to sign a release form, and Patricia did, and so her story is actually on the website. You can go on there and see the button that says stories, and you'll find her story. The other story that's there is Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth. It's an amazing story. So let me go to what I actually learned when I was doing the research for this book and writing about the culture of abuse toward women in the military. And what I found out was there actually is a culture of abuse toward women in the military. It's been going on for decades, and it destroys the health and the careers and in many cases the lives of women in the military. Sexual assault, sexual harassment, rape have escalated. In recent years, there are now 26,000 a year, 71 a day. Every 20 minutes, one of our brave service members are being sexually assaulted. And from my perspective, rape by soldiers, commanders, doctors, and gang rape of our women in the military must be stopped. I've literally read everything that can be read about this subject over the years I've been working on the book. And I interviewed 60 women veterans from World War II all the way up to Afghanistan. And over in their stories, they told me that if they report sexual assault or if someone else reports it on their behalf, they are punished harshly, but the perpetrators are protected, promoted, and permitted to continue their abusive language and behavior unabated. Victims are isolated, they're ostracized, they're publicly humiliated. 62% of the women who report sexual assault in the military are retaliated against severely. This is a huge problem. Now, if you don't remember anything else from what I'm saying here, please remember this statistic. 95% of the perpetrators of these sexual assaults are repeat offenders and serial rapists. Get that? 95% are repeat offenders and serial rapists. The military response has been completely inadequate and has engendered even more crime, sexual assault crime. Sexual predators will calmly claim to their commanders that what they did was consensual sex. And the horror is that their commanders believe them. So when a rapist confesses, which is relatively rare, they come out of the 5% that are not serial rapists and repeat offenders. And so when they confess, their confession is ignored, and the woman is then instead charged with making false statements. So even when they have an actual confession, the woman is charged with making false statements. because women are so demeaned and diminished in our military and are considered government property, there is no justice for them. In 2012, there was a 35% increase in sexual assaults toward women. In 2013, that number went up to, depending on where you get it, where you get your data, either 50% or 60%. So I want to share a couple of stories. Sharon Mixon is a 21-year-old decorated combat medic in Desert Storm. She was waiting to process out of Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, and she was deliberately drugged and raped by her brother's soldiers in that line. And after they raped her, they threatened to kill her if she said anything to anyone. Next story is Colleen Mussolino. And Colleen was an army cook in the 1960s. And she was gang raped by 4 soldiers who took her into the woods. And she was quite a fighter. She was fighting so hard that they had to put their knees, there's 4 of them, one of her, they had to put their knees on her arms to keep her from fighting them off, 4 of them. And they did proceed to gang rape her, all 4 of them, repeatedly, beat her unconscious. When she came back to her consciousness, she was bruised on her head, her neck, her arms, her shoulders. She was bleeding down her thighs. She was a bit disoriented. When she finally regained her senses and where she was, figured out where she was and what had happened, she got herself up and got herself to the road where some military police took her to the hospital. And they treated her very well at the hospital. She got what she needed. And then CID took over, Criminal Investigation Division. And they interrogated her from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., 5 days a week for 6 weeks. At the end of that, they threatened her with dishonorable discharge if she did not sign a paper saying she would not prosecute. So these are just pieces of these stories, and I don't know how it's resonating with you, how you're reacting to them, but these kinds of stories, when I started to see them and read them or hear them, they were affecting me emotionally, deeply. I mean, I was just horrified, and I was outraged, and I still am, which I guess is why it's my mission to do this. So one of the women that I interviewed told me that the Army is the best place for a rapist. She was in the Army, of course, because there's an unspoken rule that rape is tolerated. And this, although she said it about the Army, it's all the way across every one of the services. The Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. I have to tell you that there was a point at which, when I was doing the stories and the interviews, that I thought to myself, okay, so at that point I had Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. I thought to myself, okay, well, at least the Coast Guard's not involved in this. The very next day I got an email from a woman in the Coast Guard, and then the Coast Guard stories started coming in. So it's all the way across the board. But the Coast Guard no longer comes under the same hierarchy as the military does. They're now under Homeland Security. And so there are different rules for them, which actually is making it harder. So military sexual assault is a very deep wounding and a betrayal to the women. They're told from the very beginning in basic training that they can rely on their brother soldiers to protect them, to have their back. And then they start their training and they start having these horrific experiences, many of whom have their experiences while they're in basic training, when their trainers are setting them up to be raped or and somehow raping them or setting them up to be raped. And there are just lots and lots of stories of that. So the male attitudes toward women in the military are dismissive, arrogant, disrespectful. The men make it clear to the women that it's their military. It belongs to the men, and the women are considered government property for them to do with as they please. They have an attitude of entitlement that they can and do whatever they wish, whenever they wish, with any of the women that are in the military. It's kind of like their perception is, if you came in the military, you must be coming in for this, for us to put you down and rape you and beat you. So that attitude is very widespread from the lowest to the highest ranks. Men use threats and intimidation tactics to coerce women into having sex with them, and there are lots of stories of that. And if the leadership in any or all branches of our military truly taught respect for women and meant zero tolerance for sexual assault, then women would not be perceived and treated in the disgusting ways that I discovered. Now, not all men in the military are like this. Not all men mistreat women, or disrespectful to women. And not all men support what I'm describing as happening. But it's so pervasive throughout the military and all the branches that it must be acknowledged and stopped. And that's the purpose in my book, to bring that out into the open and to get it stopped and get it changed so we can eliminate this culture of abuse toward women in the military. And it's not an easy task because it's been going on since World War II. Not as blatant, not as much, not as high a percentage it is now, but it's worse than ever now. And one of the reasons why it's worse than ever now is because, I'm actually kind of skipping ahead, but I'll go back. Because in 2003, when President Bush decided to go into Iraq militarily, they literally opened the doors to the military, to the criminal element. Anyone who was of the age that they could go into the military and who had committed a crime was given the option to go into the military or go to jail. So you can well imagine, most of them picked going in the military. So there's a huge criminal element in the military because of that. So let me go back for a minute here. 1997, Major Elspeth Ritchie was the assistant chief of outpatient psychiatry at Walter Reed. And she testified, that's 97, she testified against a drill sergeant from Aberdeen Proving Ground, which is Army. That's when the Army had their scandal of trainers raping trainees. In fact, historically, just to give you a quick overview, historically 1991 was the first scandal, and it was the Navy. The Navy at a conference convention they had in Las Vegas. It was called Tailhook. And they were basically harassing and assaulting and raping military Navy women and even civilian women. Even some teenagers were involved in that. It was horrific. And then the next one was 97, Aberdeen Proving Ground with the Army scandal. And then 2003 was the scandal at the Air Force Academy. And then 2011 was the scandal at Lackland Air Force Base. So when there's a scandal, there's a big hoo-ha about it. It's in the news, in the media. And then once the media lets go of it and dies down, then everybody forgets about it and nothing's ever done. So Major Elspeth Ritchie, she testified against this drill sergeant from Aberdeen Proving Ground. And she's told about a hierarchical structure in the military that is so powerful that any woman reporting sexual assault will find her superiors closing ranks and protecting one another instead of her. So that was 97. And now, 17 years later, that situation is worse than ever. In 2003, 3 women literally died of dehydration in their cots in Iraq because they would not drink liquids after a certain time of night. The reason they wouldn't drink liquids because they would have to get up in the middle of the night and go to the latrine. To get to the latrine, they had to walk by loud, noisy generators. That's where the guys were raping them so nobody would hear their screams. So these women literally died rather than be raped by brother soldiers in Iraq. So Colonel Janice Karpinski was in the room when the doctor came in to tell the deputy commander in Iraq that these women had died. And she heard the deputy commander tell the doctor, well, don't say anything about this because we don't want to bring attention to it. We don't want people to know. And that's the cover-up, and the cover-up's been going on really also from the beginning. So I want to read to you from Bob Herbert, who wrote in the New York Times in 2009, March of 2009. You can look it up if you want. So it was a whole big op-ed he wrote, but I just want to read you a part of it because it's still true and it's stunning. This is it. This is a quote from this op-ed from Bob Herbert. The military could bring about a radical reduction in the number of rapes and other forms of sexual assault if it wanted to. It could radically improve the overall treatment of women in the armed forces. There is no real desire in the military to modify this aspect of its culture. It is an ultra-macho environment in which the overwhelming tendency has been to see all women, civilian and military, young and old, American and foreign, solely as sexual objects. Real change will have to be imposed from outside the military. It will not come from within. Rape and other forms of sexual assault against women is the great shame of the United States Armed Forces, and there is no evidence that this ghastly problem, kept out of sight as much as possible, is diminishing. End quote. To me, that says it all. So, women are basically denied justice, and the military really cannot be allowed to investigate itself. They are far too self-protective. So I'm calling for independent, unbiased investigations into how the military handles or mishandles sexual assault crimes, and they are crimes, to do a thorough evaluation of how reports of sexual assault are managed, how reports are dealt with, how protective orders are managed, and how the system applies accountability and justice, if at all. It's time to fully investigate this abuse culture, clean house, and begin anew with appropriate policies and actions that restore honor and integrity to our military, accountability to our military, and justice to women that are serving. So the takeaway for all of you, and for anybody else actually, is to read the book and become educated. Call and write your congressional representatives and U.S. senators. Let them know that you are appalled by what you read and learned about the culture of abuse toward women in the military and the rampant sexual assault to both male and female service members. Be strong and firm and tell them you must put a stop to this because they're the only ones that can. If it doesn't come from Congress, it's not going to happen. It's their responsibility to listen to you and do their job. So be specific and tell them that Congress must insist that our military hold offenders accountable.
Please mute your phones, guys.
Ooh, we're having a concert.
I don't know what that is. It sounds like somebody may have put their phone on hold.
Okay, well, I'll try to talk over it. So basically, they need to hold offenders accountable, punish criminal behavior, especially military sexual assault, eliminate the criminal element in our military, take reporting sexual assault out of the chain of command, regardless of what military leaders tell them. Our military leaders have lost their credibility in sexual assault cases.
Yeah, Sarah, I think this is too difficult. I just sent out a message while asking people to mute their phones.
How do we get that to turn off?
Probably going to have to call back in. So if everyone can, well, I'm going to hang up the call, and if we'll see if we can still have about 20 minutes left. All right?
Okay. So we're gonna hang up and then call back in?
Correct.
Okay.
Still on?
Here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. It sounds like the music turned off.
Oh, wow, that's a relief. That's a relief.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll go over the, maybe the last part. I'm not sure when the music came on. So be specific when you call your congressional representatives and senators, letting them know that you're appalled by what you read and that they need to stop it. And so in being specific, tell them to hold offenders accountable, number one, because that's not being done. Punish criminal behavior, especially military sexual assault, because they're good at punishing other military behavior, but not military sexual assault, particularly if it's to a woman. Men, of course, don't usually report it. And three, eliminate the criminal element in our military. And the reason that they don't do it, because most of them are sociopaths, and they look good, and they talk well, and they make good soldiers. They look like they're actually being really good soldiers, but then behind the scenes they're doing this dastardly deed. And then the fourth one is to take reporting sexual assault out of the chain of command, regardless of what military leaders tell them. And military leaders are trying to hold on desperately to their power and authority and keep it in the chain of command. Our military leaders have basically lost their credibility in these cases. And when a woman reports sexual assault, she's either reporting it to her rapist directly or to someone who is supporting the rapist. So that's why it has to come out of the chain of command. And as long as reporting stays in the chain of command, women are at risk. So I also have, on my website, I also have a donation button. So if you are interested in helping me travel and speak out to end the culture of abuse toward women in the military, you can go there and donate. And then there's also this information is there if women want to, women or anyone really wants to contact their congressional representatives and senators. The information is there so you can see it and read it. Okay, so questions, comments?
So, Sarah, this is Lindsay. I wanted to thank you very much for the work that you're doing with women who are serving in the military. As many of us understand and our callers understand, unfortunately, this is a pervasive pattern of behavior, not just against women in the military, but against men as well. Sexual assault, harassment, and rape are continue to happen in our military, continue to be perpetrated against both genders, although it's much more likely to happen against women, and that is certainly, in my opinion, a result of a culture of allowing women to be treated not necessarily as human beings, but as objects, just as you mentioned. And that's something that's happening across the world in every society. Women are still not elevated to the level of parity as men are, and we are still treated as objects one way or another. But I do, that said, I want to thank you for the work you've done, because it's not easy to be able to record people's stories, particularly stories that have such sad, tragic consequences and gruesome details. What women are, and to the women that have shared this with you, they are so courageous and brave to be able to do that, because it's very difficult to share this type of trauma and experience, and yet they've been able to do it.
Yes,
and
yeah, and the other thing is, I went to the Truth and Justice Summit back in Washington D.C. And I met probably 6 or 7 men that were sexually assaulted in the military, and I still converse and talk with them, and we support each other. And they have a movie out called Justice Denied, which is their story. And I was specific in the book in acknowledging that men are also sexually assaulted, but that was not the focus in my book. So I wrote about the women.
And this is an issue that we have to continue as veterans advocates and as communities to continue to raise, because as you said, we've been dealing with these scandals in the public, at least in the public eye since 1991 at least, and yet we haven't seen a great deal of change. I know the military establishment's looking to make changes, but are they going to be sweeping enough? Are they the cultural change that truly needs to happen within the U.S. Armed Forces that will effectively prevent rape from happening and then eventually prosecute to a harsher degree the people that are perpetrating it? A real cultural change needs to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
So do we have any other comments or questions?
Yeah, Sarah, this is Kate O'Hare Palmer, part of VVA, and I met you back in Washington in November when you had your book out there, and we're talking to people. I just wondered what your hi, how are you?
Good.
I was wondering, we were all very disappointed. Marcia Foer and many of us worked very hard with Gillibrand for the Military Justice Improvement Act, and it did not get the needed votes to pass. And there was this rush at the end of December to pass parts of it to be included in the bill. But what's your take on how effective that's going to be?
I was disappointed as well, and I really believe that she's going to bring her bill back as an amendment. Maybe I'm not sure when she's going to do that. My understanding is that there was some pretty serious pressure put on her to stop doing what she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that she's going to actually succumb to that. I hope not. But I don't really believe that the changes that were put in are going to have the overall effect that we want. They're not going to really change the culture. They will be helpful. The things that they put in the bill will be helpful to women, because there's going to be a little bit more support and a little bit more advocacy for them when they do come forward to report. But as long as they have to report to the chain of command, it's not going to work. It's not going to change the culture. Yeah.
Yeah, we had heard that she was going to put an amendment as early as February, and it's now July, so we're losing faith in some of that. I agree, she had a lot of pressure put on her. My second question was, what do you think about the culture of our children? Do you think that this is starting this disconnect with women and their place in our community? Do you think there's a change in the culture of young boys going into men, not even in the military?
I know that at the college level, it's as bad as it is in the military. So then, given that, I'm guessing that it's got to start somewhere. I'm guessing that it happens. I don't know if it happens when they're really young, but I think by the time they're teenagers, they are listening to people talk, their radio, TV. It's all over. It's all over in our culture, this approach, and it's been in our culture in this way, very blatant, I think, since the early, I would say, 2000, from 2000 on, I think. I think is when it's kind of like something happened and this door opened for women to be totally disrespected and mistreated and disempowered, and it's been across the board, and it's gotten, the more they've done it, the more they've been empowered to do more of it. And you know, we're seeing all of the pressure that's put on politically right now in different states that are all basically anti-women and against women's empowerment, and women being Lindsay put it really well, the women being equal members of society. And there's an attempt right now to keep that from happening. I believe it's coming out of fear, and I think that fear is also present in our military, because 15% of our military are women, and they are very, very focused and very competent and very able, and they're literally putting the men to shame by the way that they go about learning and training and doing their best and being very effective. And I think that was happening also in the main culture, that's happening in the same way, and it's frightening to the men, and so they want to do everything they can to, quote, keep us in our place.
Hi, Sarah. This is Lindsay. I wanted to follow up with one comment and one question for you from our listeners, and also wanted to make a comment really quick about what you and Kate just covered. Look, guys, whether you're male or female on this phone call, you need to become feminists, plain and simple. You know, we need to get away from this definition of feminism as a scary word or as a demonized stereotype of a woman. A feminist is simply somebody that wants to further the cause of women and see them on parity with men and see them treated correctly. In this job, becoming an advocate for women veterans and as a woman veteran, I'm now a feminist and an advocate for women, period, across the board, because we do see, just as Sarah's saying, the same issues that are happening in the military, the same dehumanization that happens to women in the military. That's exactly what's happening in society on a much larger scale. And until we can equalize women and see more of us painted in positive roles and positive light, we're going to continue to see abuse of women across the military and across society. And that's why it's so important for all of us to purport or to promote feminist ideals and become feminists. Okay. Sorry, that's
This is Paula. I'm so glad you said that.
Thank you. So that's my soapbox. So one of our viewers wanted to say thank you for the work you're doing, Sarah, that it has opened their eyes on what goes on in the military and how the military handles things. Christine has also asked about your schedule of speaking engagements. Is there information that we can find on your website, or can we email you to inquire about your schedule of speaking engagements, or do you have a schedule at this time?
Yeah, they can email me, and they can also connect with me over the website. Either way, I actually, what I've been doing, my publisher took me to New York City in April, and I pitched to 64 different media, radio, TV, newspapers, magazines, and I'm still doing follow-ups. I've done 11 different radio shows, and I have a few more coming up. I have one July 16th out of Philadelphia. I have one August 5th out of New York. I don't have any specific speaking engagements planned. I've been wanting to come to California for quite a while because there's a lot of women vets down there that I know, and then Patricia's down in LA. And so I'm hoping that we can put something together where I can come down there and speak, about this issue, about the book. I'm also willing to speak in relationship to the film, The Invisible War movie. I'm actually was with a lot of the women when they were filming the movie, and there's a little section of it that didn't get into the actual movie that I'm in. And so I'm hoping that I can get down to California. I've also been asked to speak at in Wisconsin when they're bringing the 3 different walls there. That's in August, but I'm not sure. I think they're working on whether we can make this happen or not. So I don't actually have anything specific planned in terms of where I'm going to speak, and I'm willing to go wherever I can. I have a little bit of money that's been donated through a GoFundMe account and on my website, and I'm also using a lot of my own money to do a lot of this. I went down to Texas in the beginning of June, and it was really a fabulous experience. They actually paid for all of it. And so I went back, and then on Friday night I did a presentation on the book that was very well attended, sold a lot of books. And then the next day, I completely switched and I spoke to the group that was gathered there for the update of the wall ceremony, of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial ceremony. And I spoke and I told the story of this guy who brought me down there, whose hands I sewed up in Vietnam. And then I talked about what it was like to be an operating room nurse in Vietnam during the war, and told my real experiences. And I was crying, and I guess everybody else was crying too. And they told me in 5 years that they've done that event, they've never had people cry before, but they did this time. So yeah, I'm willing to go wherever I can, whenever I can, and speak about this or, you know, my own experiences, whatever people want to hear and whatever would serve people the best. So yeah, people can email me. It's Sarah Blum. No, I'm sorry, it's Nurse, N-U-R-S-E, Scribe, S-C-R-I-B-E, nursescribe@q.com. And then also on the website, you can get hold of me that way as well.
Excellent. So I think we can take one very quick question, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap up the call. Does anybody else have a question or comment for Sarah?
I just have a comment. This is Patricia. We had talked about her coming out to California, and Callie, she had mentioned that she had connected with Callie White as well. So it would be something that we'd be interested in.
Agreed.
Agreed. This is Kate. I agree totally. We need you out here.
Yeah.
You bet.
Well, Sarah, I thank you again for presenting on this call today, and thank you to all of our callers for taking the time out of their day to do this. Thank you to Christine for helping to organize and administer the call, and to Patricia Jackson-Kelly for introducing us to Sarah this month. So our next call will be August 4th, Monday at 10 a.m. as we do these calls on the first Monday of every month. And again, to Sarah, thank you, and I hope that we can keep in touch with you, those of us in California, and get you down here. And we look forward to keeping in touch with you about your continued work to support women in the military and women veterans. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful week, and contact any of us if you need to, or if you have follow-on questions, and we'll post the recording on our website.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Have a good morning. Thank you.